Hello and welcome to episode 283 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 9th of January. So welcome everybody, I hope you've all had a lovely festive season and are back on track for the brand new year and are excited to do some crafty goodness. So today we've got some knitting, some crochet, a little bit of punch needle and some sewing. We've got a what's occurring section chatting about meetups and a little bit of information on my shop update at the end of the video. Oh, of course, we've got to have a little Jensen at the very end as well, wearing some crafty goodness as well. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? I have a finished pair of socks to show you. These are the Woodland Wonders socks, and this is the pattern I designed for the sort of one of the festive kits that I designed at the end of last year, and it is basically lots of trees, and it's a really nice intuitive pattern, which is really addictive. So I've done sort of one repeat here, but you could do more repeats of the 3 rows of trees if you wanted to. You could do 5 or even more if you really like it. So you've got this simple sort of lace pattern, which is like a little forest, and then I've incorporated some stripes in here, but you don't have to do the stripes. They are written in the pattern if you wanted to. And I did find that when I did this in DK yarn, I just used over 20 grams for the contrast. So if you do use a DK yarn, if you've got only 20 grams contrast, I just omit the stripes on the toes maybe, or the stripes just here, and then you'll have plenty. But it is fun to do some little stripe details in there. So this colourway here is the Woodland Wonders colourway that I designed specifically for the kit, and I will actually be bringing that out at the end of the month as a colourway. I am thinking that I might need a jumper in this because I love, there's sort of a little bit of blue, a little bit of grey and some different greens in there, but quite subtle so that it's not too variegated, if that makes sense. So this is a pattern that's written top down, and then you've got a little bit of sort of detailing, and then the rest of the foot is relatively simple. Obviously you've got that heel flap and gusset on there, but I wanted to design it as quite a sort of easy pattern to do over the Christmas period. Once you've done a little bit more complicated lace, then it's nice and simple for the rest of the foot. The lace itself though is quite simple, and if you've done a bit of lace before that, you'll find that quite easy. There we go. So that is my first thing I've got to show you. I knitted these in a Merino DK, which is the normal sort of Merino DK base that I stock in the shop, and I stuck to the same needle size that I've suggested in the pattern, and I used the 48 stitch count to fit me and Adam, and that seems absolutely fine. And there are 3 sort of sizes for DK yarn and more so for the fingering weight sizes, so the pattern is not only DK but fingering weight as well. So the next thing I've got to show you is something I'm wearing right now. So I have blocked this. If you watched Vlogmas, you will have seen this in my Vlogmas videos where I finished knitting it, and I am so pleased with how it's come out. So I decided to do full length sleeves this time because it is a thicker sort of jumper. I thought I'd do full length sleeves because it'll keep me nice and cozy there. I'm quite often a lover of 3/4 length sleeves, but I thought, well, I'll do one that's a little bit thicker and a little bit cozier, and they are sort of really long over my cuff, which is really nice and cozy. This main colourway is called Nightshift, which I dyed, and then the contrast I've used is Superstition, and oh my goodness, how lovely is this pattern. So this is the Forestland sweater by Jennifer Steingass, and I've had it on my list to do for ages and ages, and I know that me and Fran from Franny Do Makes started it about the same time, and we were sort of doing it alongside each other, but I think because of Christmas and Vlogmas, it just took a little bit longer than I would normally to sort of knit a DK jumper, and same goes for Fran. I think she has done a gorgeous version. I will not tell you what colours they are, so you've got to go over and watch her latest podcast as well, because she's made a beautiful version, but I think that this will be something I wear a lot, because it's just so gorgeous. Really feels comfortable. I was impressed with the way Jennifer said about the way she sort of picked up stitches for the sleeves. It was a little bit more descriptive than some of the patterns that I've followed before. That was quite nice. It's quite a fitted sleeve. I did go down, I used, I think it was the size, I don't know, I think she names them letters, so it'll be A, B, C, D, E. E I did for the body, and I did literally sort of no E's. I just did so that it's quite nice and sort of fitted. I don't like things to be sort of too oversized because I feel like I'm sort of drowning in the fabric. I find that with knit material anyway, there's always a little bit of stretch, and I think that it's relatively flattering being not too sort of oversized. And then I went down a size for the sleeve because I measured my arm, and according to the sizes there I could do with going down a size. So what I did is I picked up the sleeve number of stitches for the same size as the body, and then I did a row of decreased stitches following the instructions of the decreases on the arm pattern, but obviously I did those earlier to get down to the size that would fit my arm. And you've got a nice fitted sleeve, feels quite nice and snug and cozy. So I'm very tempted to knit another one of these. I was looking last night on the Ravelry page for Jennifer Steingass and looking at all her jumper patterns, and I think I've got another one that I quite fancy. Let's give you a quick twirl there of what it looks like. You can see the gorgeous patterning. What I did that I did slightly different actually from what the pattern says is that the colour work, I actually did it a little bit, I did a needle size slightly bigger, and actually I don't think I needed to do that, to be quite honest. I was a bit worried that it was then going to come up a bit loose, so I will next time, I think I'll probably stick to the same needle size for the colour work, because I normally do with sort of smaller things like mittens and things, but I think because it's merino stretches a little bit anyway, and you do the body in a slightly larger needle than the sort of neckline anyway, I think it would have worked out okay. But I just wanted to just do that. I think if you look in a couple of places, the stitches do look a little bit looser on the patterned bit, but I'm still really happy with it. So I'm glad that I actually completed it and finished it, even though I did till January to finish it. I love the pattern. So really pleased with it. It is knitted in a DK weight yarn, and I used my Merino DK, which is a merino and nylon mix, which I think is nice because it's got the softness of merino, and that little bit of extra nylon gives it a little bit of extra durability, like as if it was a sock yarn. So I do like that extra bit of nylon in it, and it's not too bad at pilling. Obviously because it's merino it will pill because it's got a short staple length, but it's not as bad as some of them. It's got quite a nice sort of twist in it, which is not too bad at pilling. So that is my Forestland sweater. Isn't it gorgeous? I just like to spread my arms out. Oh, I tell you what I probably would have liked to do is that next time I do a jumper with a yoke on it, I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to block it once I've actually knitted the yoke, so that you get it sort of knitted and you get it blocked all nice and round, because obviously when I flatten this down I get a bit of a ridge, but I'd have to block it again anyway once I finish the rest of the jumper. But what do you guys do? Do you block the yoke before you've actually finished knitting the rest of the jumper just to make it sort of even all the way around before you then knit the rest of it? What do you guys do? It's probably okay now anyway, but also it would have been really nice to see how the colour work sort of blocked out before I knitted the rest of it. But there we go. So that is my second thing I've got to show you. I have a third thing. Now this I have shown on the videos before, like again over Vlogmas, but I haven't shown it on a proper podcast video. So this is the Strobilus shawl, and it's a modular shawl that you can knit, and I designed it to go with the advent calendars, because it's a nice simple knit, but is also quite effective when you've actually got it on. So what I like to do is put it around my neck. It's a bit more difficult to do when I'm doing it sort of just on the camera. But sort of flatten it around, and then, well, you get the idea. If I was doing this in the mirror I could probably do it a bit better, so that you've got the segments sort of showing. You could potentially do less segments and do it like a cowl and wear a shawl pin with it. instead of it being so long, so you've got some options there. But I try to design it so that when you're literally, you start from one end, you've got an I-cord edging, you're knitting it, you knit one wedge at a time, you've still got those stitches on the needles so that you then start on the next one, and you keep carrying on. You don't have to sort of, once you've done that first I-cord section, you don't have to pick up any more stitches after there. You're just going to be doing short rows, bit of I-cord edging, and then carrying on to make a nice simple pattern. Once you've done one of these, it is quite addictive. So that is my Strobilus pattern for the 2024 Woodland Wonders Advent, and it's called the Strobilus. I had no idea what this word meant before. I was just googling things to do with woodlands and I came up with, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could make sort of a section, you know, those little sections inside a pine cone, if I could sort of duplicate that. And that's what I was going for with each of these wedges. And then I was looking up, well, what are the different words for pine cone? And I come up with Strobilus, and it was like, oh, genius. Even if I do say so myself, oh dear. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that's the best name for a shawl. So this is the Strobilus shawl. I will actually at one point make one that's sort of like a cowl, because if you made a smaller number of sections, you know, it would be less to wrap around you. You could sort of make it with that many, so you probably wouldn't even need 12. So how many sections is that? So just to make it sure it overlaps, you'd go up to the pink. So how many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, it is actually 12. So 12 sections would make a good sort of cowl's width, and then you could wear a shawl pin on the side to keep it together. Or you could potentially either make some buttonholes in one side and put buttons in the other, or sew some buttons onto it and then make some I-cord loops to make, you know, loops to hold around the buttons with. So you could do that as a sort of afterthought thing rather than working out where you need to put your buttonholes. But there we are. This is the Strobilus shawl. I'm so proud of this pattern because I wanted to make something really nice and simple, but also very wearable, because I think sometimes with some shawls it can look really beautiful sort of laid out, but when you've got it on it sort of looks a bit higgledy-piggledy. So I think that this works quite well as a sort of a nice simple collar that looks really nice on. So there we go, that is the Strobilus shawl. The yarns that I used in these are actually, most of them are sort of scraps of leftover yarns that I've had either in sort of clubs or projects that I've used before. For example, those 3 sort of pinks were in the shawl that one of the kits I did for 2023 Stephen West, which was the, was it the space one that Stephen West did? I can't think what it was called, but Liz knitted one in those colours with some purples in as well, which was that purple, I think. This one was one of the yarn clubs for last year, and then some of these are sort of minis that I had in my stash. I think this one here might be a Giddy Yarns. I can't tell you what all of them are because they're things that I've had in my stash for ages. But I just had fun picking a rainbow with Jensen and putting those colours together. I wanted to do a rainbow to sort of show you sort of, you know, potentially you could make it a sort of fade, or if you were going to do this in just 3 colours, if you had 3 100-gram skeins and then just kept repeating those colours, that would look really nice as well. So if you've got 3 skeins in your stash that look nice together, you could put them together for this one, and you wouldn't have to sort of think about colour placement too much because you could just repeat those 3 colours, like if you had some blues like this. So there's a lot of potential there if you've got leftover scraps that you like how they fade, or maybe if you've got 6 colours, if you had 50-gram skeins of 6 colours, that would also work. So you could put all sorts of things together to make your Strobilus shawl. So there we go, that is the Strobilus shawl. So that's 2 of my patterns I've actually shown today. I'm really pleased I managed to get 4 patterns out last year, which is good. So I'm hoping that I'll get more knitting patterns published maybe earlier on in the year this year. That's one of my sort of goals for 2025. In terms of knitting, I also had a beautiful gift of some mittens, but I'm afraid I don't know what the pattern is, but I just have to show you because they are absolutely gorgeous. So a friend of mine knitted these for my birthday, which has been since the last podcast, and I have to show you these because they are absolutely gorgeous. So they've got this beautiful lace detail. They are fingerless mittens, and they are knitted in like a, I would say probably a Jameson and Smith or something like that, because it's got a little, it's a little bit toothy, but I bet they'll be super nice and warm, and they fit me absolutely perfectly. So thank you so much to the person who knitted me these. They are an absolute perfect fit. I'm absolutely blown over the fact that they made them for me, so thank you so much. If I can work out what the pattern is, I'll put it in the show notes in the description bar down below. So we are now on to my sort of crochet section. I say this is crochet though, so but most of it is crochet, but there's a little bit of knitting in there as well that I have been doing now, so it is sort of knitting still. So I have been working on my Ariana cardigan. If you were watching during Vlogmas, you'll know that I completed one of the cuffs in Vlogmas. This week I've done the 2nd cuff. I haven't sewn my ends in yet, but we've done the cuffs at least. I kept the cuffs quite short because I didn't want them to be too long, because the actual sleeve is quite long already. So I made some modifications to the patterns. So I've got a schematic diagram of how the pattern's sort of laid out. It's a free pattern, so I can show you this. I have taken a picture of this and put it on my Ravelry page, so if you wanted to see exactly all my calculations, I will leave a link to that. So there's 2 schematic diagrams, one for a smaller size, one for a larger size. I calculated that if I've got the diagonal width of each square of 7 3/4 inches, it'll be big enough to go round me with the button bands as well. I'm not doing any sort of positive or negative ease. I'm keeping it about just as fitted because I don't want it to be too big or too small. I can always add a little bit of width to the button bands if I need to. I found that I could take, because there's in the original pattern there's this sort of bat wing design. I omitted that. Some people have put notes in their sort of pattern where if they did that they found that the arms were quite narrow, but because I've got quite a big body and narrower arms compared to my body, I was okay. I've tried it on and it seems okay so far, and I'm almost done. I've just got to do the button bands and finish the bottom of it. So it looks like it's fitted okay, according to my calculations. I've also changed the length of the sleeves. So the sleeves had another half sort of square on the end, which I've omitted to make it so that I could do it 3/4 length sleeves. And then that's why I've done a shorter button band, because I didn't want it to be too long, because I want this to be a sort of cardigan that I wear around the house and do jobs with, and the long sleeves sort of get on my nerves if I'm doing that with it. So that's what I've done. So because the pattern was originally Aran weight and I'm doing fingering weight, I basically just kept making my square as big, kept doing my square until it was about the size that I wanted it to be big enough to go around my bust, and then I've duplicated those squares obviously to make the whole thing. I did 9 rounds on each of mine, so if you're doing fingering weight you might do a similar thing, and I ended up doing 38 full squares, 13 half squares and 2 quarter squares to finish mine off, because this is the sort of front and you need quarter squares to do the front, the 2 front bits at the bottom, and then there's a couple of areas where you need half ones, like at the bottom here, and it just gives you an idea of where to place it looking at the schematic. It's quite easy to understand. And to be quite honest, I didn't follow the pattern, like the written instructions, much in the pattern, because I just did how I normally do a granny square, and I did not follow the construction method. I just followed the diagram and just played it by ear as I went along. I sort of laid it all out and then thought, well, I'll crochet along all there so that I'm doing all the way along that direction, and then I sort of went diagonally and did in a different direction. So it's sort of making it up as I go along, really. But I just like the idea of it being this gorgeous granny squares with the knitted button bands and cuffs and things. I thought that really made it come together. The reason why I didn't do an Aran weight cardigan is because it's crochet as well, so it makes it even thicker. And I think for me that would be really super thick and a bit too heavy, so that's why I went for the fingering weight. Also, I'm using up all my little scraps. Lovely jubbly. So, let me try and show you where I am. I'm actually halfway through the round at the bottom. So, this is the front of the cardigan. I haven't done the front button bands yet, but I am currently working on the bottom band. You can see there how it's coming along, and I think that's bringing it together really nicely. I think I'm going to make the bottom band slightly longer than the cuffs, I think. When I picked up stitches on the cuffs, I think I was picking up 70 stitches around each of the cuffs. I picked up one, then just made sure that I was doing about the same for the second one. I just picked up wherever I could pick up a stitch around the cuff. I just sort of played it by ear and it worked out okay, and it brings it in a little bit. I think that'll block out slightly, but I didn't want it to be too loose because it's already quite baggy around this part of my arm anyway, so that's what I was going for. When I come to pick up stitches around the bottom band, I am picking up about 3 stitches for every crochet row, sort of on the diagonal, to make sure that I'm picking up plenty so it doesn't sort of cinch in much on the bottom, because I want the bottom to be sort of straighter, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm doing with that one. I think I did about 12 rows of knit on the cuffs. I'm probably going to do maybe 18 or 20 on the bottom. I'm going to see how it goes, play it by ear and show you on the next week's podcast. Hopefully I would have finished it by then. It did seem to take forever to pick up the stitches around the bottom band, because it's not as pleasant to pick up stitches in the crochet into knitting, if that makes sense. When I was doing the cuffs, it's only a short distance, so it didn't seem to take as long, but I was like, oh goodness me, this is taking forever. But I was like ploughing on with it. I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. That's what I was telling myself, and I've got to the stage now where I'm just doing 2x2 rib, which is lovely. So I basically managed to knit. I picked up the stitches not last night, the night before, and then I knitted the 2x2 rib that much last night, but I also did quite a bit of hand sewing as well, which I'll show you a little bit later. So it is relatively quick to do this, so I reckon I can get it completely finished and blocked by the next video, because I'm giving myself evenings to do crafty goodness now that we're not so busy with the sort of Christmas rush. But I absolutely love the granny squares on this, and I just love the finish being knit, because I just think that finishes the edges off really, really lovely, and I cannot wait to wear this as well. So that's 2 garments sort of finished this year so far, even though they're out of last year's and make 9. What I'm going to do next week, I think, is do like what my 2024 sort of achievements of my to-do lists are. I'm not going to have achieved all of them, but I do like making lists of what I want to make, because then I don't end up just sort of aimlessly randomly picking things. I've got like a list that I'd really like to do, and then I can modify it as and when. If I change my mind, that's absolutely fine, but I do like to have a sort of to-do list, even though it's massive and completely unachievable in the time frame. It's just nice to have sort of goals that I can sort of go to, right, what am I going to do next? Because sometimes it's hard to make a decision what project to do next, and if I've got a to-do list, it's much easier to pick out of that to-do list. Next week, when I do sort of finish that, I will weigh it and tell you how many scraps I've actually used up, which is brilliant, because all of that yarn is leftover yarn from other projects and just scraps of all sorts of bits and bobs. So really pleased I was able to put that together. Oh, the other thing that I did was that I organised the scraps into sort of colour sections, so that each square looked similar, even if it's not exactly the same, so that it sort of looks sort of put together. that is my Ariana cardigan by Amy Cristoffers, and I'm so pleased I'm nearing the end. The actual crochet section seemed to take forever because I don't know what it is. They just took me forever to do all those squares. I thought there was like 38 full ones, so it seemed longer than making a big blanket. But well worth it in the end. So my next section is punch needle, or needle punch. Not sure which way around is better, but I've done it. So this is my fox cushion, and I bought this as a kit from the Modern Crafter, and it was in sort of October time. So obviously, because it was sort of a seasonal kit, I don't think they have them in the shop anymore, but you don't know, they might have them back next year. But they do some really nice kits there. I've done some kits from them before and I've really enjoyed it, and I thought actually, because I hadn't got the frame to do it in, and I thought I might as well just buy a kit. It's got all the yarn I need. I'll just do it. I'll buy the kit. It was quite expensive for the kit. I don't know whether it was, I think it was about £55, but it comes with a needle punch. You get a frame, a wooden frame to do it in, the fabric that you need for the front and the back of the actual cushion. You obviously get all the wool that you need, and good instructions of how to complete the project. I did find that I was a bit tight on the amount of white I had, but I think it's probably because I punch needle closer together than the instructions say, really. But it was so much fun to make, and I just think that's a really effective pattern, and it goes really nice with Jensen's sort of colour scheme in his room. He's got like a jungle sort of bedspread, and it's got some foxes and different animals on there as well, so that went really nicely with it. I love the texture of the punch needle and the fact that he's got cute little cheeks and little closed eyes, like as if he's going to sleep. And that was very cute. Jensen said he's gone to sleep, and I thought that was really cute that you noticed that. The back, it's got a linen fabric. Oh, the only other thing that isn't in the kit is the stuffing, but I just had some polyester stuffing that I had in my stash. I did contemplate putting a zip on the back, but then I thought, actually, I can't really see myself washing this in the machine anyway, so I'm going to be able to spot clean it. I'll just do it, I'll treat it as a sort of stuffed toy. The instructions did say to do it like this anyway, so I just did it like that. I thought I'm just wasting my time putting a zip on the back of it, so I did it as the instructions said. Lots and lots of fun, quite quick to needle punch. It took me 2 evenings, but I probably could have done it quicker because I was feeling a little bit rotten with a cold at the time, so I probably could have done it in an evening if I'd have had 4 or 5 hours in an evening rather than just a couple of hours as well. But very, very pleased I did it. Really nice kits. They've got really nice customer service at the Modern Crafter as well if you need anything, if you've got any questions. So that is my punch needle punch. And my next section is sewing. Now, really chuffed I managed to actually finish this section. Ta-da! So this is made from my new sort of fabrics that I've got in the shop from Liberty. So I'm now stocking, from last year I started stocking the Liberty Lazenby Quilters Cotton, which is a thicker quilters cotton rather than the Tana Lawn. Tana Lawn is a very fine sort of material that you can use for sort of dressmaking. It's very silky. This is a bit, it's not silky, it's sort of thicker. It's the thickest quilters cotton that I've ever worked with, and I can't even bring myself to buy not Liberty cotton now. It's spoilt me. It's funny because on the bolt it's got sort of a matte appearance, and you don't realise how thick it is until you've sewn with it, which, well, you might realise it, but I didn't until I've actually sewn with it. I just then really enjoyed working with it. I've noticed that it stretches a lot less than other fabrics, so if you're putting zips in and things, it's a lot easier to work with, and I just really enjoy working with a really nice quality cotton. So there is 5 prints here from the new collection. I think it's called the Denim collection. It's the Denim Florals collection. I don't think I bought all of the colours, but I picked a small selection that I thought would go really well together, because I cannot afford to be stocking the entire range of the Liberty Quilters cottons, I'm afraid. Well, not yet anyway. If more people buy them off me, I'll invest in more of them, if you'd like to see that. So these 5 prints, we've got a darker blue with the florals, a sort of a mustardy floral, and then you've got dark blue, light blue and mustard in there, and I've repeated the same 3 again, and then I've used these 2. This one, this light blue, is my favourite, I think. It just sort of brings everything together. And then I've got, actually if you look at the back you can see the other 2 a little bit better. So we've got this sort of ditzy print in the different blues, and then we've got the sort of paler turquoisey duck egg blue sort of thing to bring it together. So if I show you the back side of it, you can see those 2. So I've chosen the way I've placed these because I wanted to sort of keep the overall look of it quite light, and then have the slightly darker prints in the middle, but you could do a different way if you wanted to. Now I bought a kit of templates from Daisy and Grace. They did work out quite expensive. I think it was £70 for this full kit. For these templates, but for this block I've only used 3 of these. So I've used the jewel, the diamond and the hexagon at the top, and in each of these you get a plastic template for the sort of small size hexagon or whatever shape it is, and then the outer shape that you need to cut out that wraps around the fabric. So this is the, so if we just talk about the hexagon, because I've got the hexagon template here, this is one sort of section. You have this smaller template which is the size of the sort of finished item, and then the larger template is your fabric that you cut around, which is probably comes up, I think it's about ½ an inch bigger all the way around. So you can fold it in twice and then stitch it down over the top of that smaller hexagon with some wadding in the middle to make these small sections of sort of quilt as you go. So that's the hexagon. Then you've got the jewel and the diamond to make this hexagon shape. But if you didn't want to do all these different patterns, I think the hexagon is the most sort of versatile. If you bought the template for the hexagon, you could even make your own template. This one is a 2.5 inch one, so if you wanted to do the same size as me, the finished one is 2.5 inches, but then you've obviously got to add a ½ an inch all the way around for the larger piece to wrap that around. But it is quite handy having the acrylic templates that you can just cut around with a rotary cutter. So I definitely recommend these. I think this will come out about £16 if you buy it on its own, and the others sort of £18 or £19 separately. So when you say £70 for the full kit for all of these, it doesn't then sound quite so bad. I thought I'd treat myself. So I've got lots of options to do sort of quilt as you go quilts. But of course you don't need to buy the templates if you're not sure whether you're going to do a big quilt. You could just draw out your own sort of shapes, or you could do, I'm sure that there's sort of 2.5 inch hexagons online that you could sort of download, and then you could add ½ an inch for the sort of backing piece to make your own templates to see how you got on with it first. But if you are doing a big quilt, it's quite handy to have one of these templates. And these are from Daisy and Grace. They do some different size versions of these. I noticed that they do a kit to make this shape, but a slightly smaller one, which comes out a bit cheaper. I think it was about £40 for the 3 templates just to do that. But this one is to make the full quilt. So they've got the half hexagon here and the triangle as well to sort of finish off the piece. But I'm really glad I invested in the sort of set so I can do what I like, what I want with them, put them different ones together. I'm even thinking that I need to go back and order some more, because they do some different, like a brick template and also like a half diamond. I can't remember what shape it's called. It's a form of a triangle, which is nice because you can make sort of bigger triangles of that and do sort of 3D shapes with it as well. So for this one I used ½ metre of the sort of pale blue colour and less than a fat quarter of all of the others. I must admit though, if I changed it up a bit and I just didn't do the lighter colour in the middle and I did one of the other colours in the middle, I would have had enough with a fat quarter of each. So I'm going to do some kits actually to put together monthly kits of different fat quarter sets that you can purchase sort of as a subscription basis if you want to. I will talk about subscriptions a little bit more at the end of the video. But I will put together fat quarter kits for these fabrics, but also the fat eighths as well. So if you don't want so much and you want it to be a bit more affordable, the sort of fat eighth kits will be £12. Well, obviously plus postage as well. But just a little treat, so you get a little bit of Liberty fabric every month. But this one is the January set, and what I'm going to try and do is with every set I put together, I will make a little something with it to give you a little bit of inspiration on the podcast videos and show you what I've made. But there we go. I will talk again about the subscription things at the end of the video, because that applies to the Colour of the Month clubs as well. But I've got a couple of things I want to chat to you about before then. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say is that inside these I've put some cotton and polyester mix wadding, because I want it to be sort of, I'm thinking maybe I can make a big quilt out of this, but I could equally make this just a table topper as well. But I've put the really nice cotton and polyester mix wadding inside there, so that it'll be a bit more of like an heirloom rather than the polyester wadding that I normally use for bag making, because that polyester wadding is nice and light and you can chuck it in the machine and everything. But this one, the cotton is a little bit heavier and drapier, so nice for quilts and for using on the tabletop as well. I do sell the waddings in my shop because I had to buy the big rolls of wadding for myself to use. Oh dear. Anyway, I've rambled on a lot about sewing, so hopefully that hasn't put you off. And we're now on to the what's occurring section. So I've got a Barbara's Day Out meetup this Sunday, and it's at Swaffham at the Best Western George Hotel. It's a different venue than we normally have, so we're trying somewhere different. It is 12th of January, 1 till 4 p.m. Anyone can come, but if you are coming, just drop me a message, hopefully the day before, just to let me know, because they wanted to know numbers, because they haven't got like a separate sort of tea bar where you can just go up and get drinks. They're actually sort of catering for us, so we need to know rough numbers. So if you are going to come, just drop me a message so I can let them know the day before, so that they know how much sort of tea and coffee to make. So hopefully see you there. I will sort out February and March dates for the Barbara's Day Out meetups after then, because I'll chat to people at the meetup, see what days are best for them. I did mention before that next week I will be doing a video on sort of make 9 or achievements for 2024, and address the things that I've ticked off my list and things that I've perhaps avoided, and just talk about the things that I'm most proud of making in 2024. I thought that might be fun to look at, and I always find it fun to look at new goals for 2025. I'll make myself a list. Might actually make a separate video with that, because obviously it might be a bit on the long side, so I'll see how it goes. I also wanted to mention that if you missed them, I did Vlogmas from the 1st of December. Actually, I did 3 pre-Vlogmas videos as well, but from the 1st of December right up until the 12th night. So I did 39 Vlogmas videos if you missed those, if you wanted to see what I was up to over Christmas. There is a little bit of Jensen and Christmassiness in there, but I packed it with as much craft as possible as you can with a 3-year-old. Hopefully you enjoyed those, and thank you so much for commenting, liking and commenting and watching those videos if you did over the Christmas period as well. I did have a few people saying that they actually missed the sort of Vlogmas videos, so I'm thinking that might be a potential to do, like, say a week of vlogs over maybe summer or something like that. If you enjoyed seeing Vlogmas, maybe I could do like a week of vlogging of what we're up to over the summer for a week, or I could just do a crafty week or something, so I focused more on sort of crafty goodness. What would you like to see? A general overview of my day, which is mainly craft anyway. But would you like to see that, or would you like to just focus on like a crafty day? I'd love to hear what you want to see over 2025. So my shop update section. So I'm doing the sort of yarn clubs a little bit differently this year. I found that there was a lot more interest in the colour of the months I did last year, because they could see how the colours knitted up before they sort of purchased them. So I thought I'd do a whole set of colours of the month, and they can be purchased as sort of a mini set, a full skein, the shawl sets, or a maxi set if you wanted to. So this is the colours of the month for January. They are based on the song Come On Eileen. I will pop a little clip of what they look like sort of on the table so you can see them a little bit better. But they're basically 5 colours, 1 variegated and 4 tonals in this set. I might change that up in further sets to see what I get inspired by. But I've done a swatch, a knitted swatch, to show you what they all look like together knitted. This is the variegated one, and then we've got the 4 contrast colours there. And I've just done a swatch where I've done about 50 stitches and garter stitch at the edges with stocking stitch in the middle, if anyone wants to know what I've done for this one. I think, I can't remember how many rows, 2, 4, 6, 8. I've done 10 rows of the contrast colours, and I think I did about 40 of the variegated one to start with, and then I've been doing these little hexagons. Now I've based this off the Weekender blanket from Sandra Paul. The individual pattern is a free pattern that you can get. I think she did a video tutorial on her YouTube channel, and basically I've just done more rows on it so to make it a little bit bigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one for every colour for each of the colours of the month, and then I'm going to join these into a blanket. So each month I'll be getting myself 5 new hexagons done to be putting towards my blanket. I might even do more actually. So I've got some left of the 20-gram minis that I've caked up to make this with, so if I do a couple of those, then that would make my blanket a little bit bigger, and it'll be sort of a memory of what the colours of the month are this time. So I've sort of displayed them like this, so but I've sort of sold them as a listing where you can get 5 minis, either 10 grams or 20 grams, so we one of each colour. You could get a sock set, which will be these colours, unless you want a different. I will swap out the mini if you didn't want the pink, but I thought the pinky purple went best with it. So if you wanted a different mini, that's absolutely fine. I've also done a maxi set, which you could have either 50 grams or 100 grams of each of those. I've done the shawl set, which is, it'll be these 2 colours but in 100 grams, and I thought it'd be nice actually, so if I did it like that, you could have enough for knitting some of those shawls that Stephen West designs with like 5 colours. So these 5 colours are designed to go together. You can order 100 grams of each if you wanted to make one of those huge Stephen West shawls. There is a link to Stephen's website where he shows all the 5 colour shawls, so I will leave a link to that in the description bar down below, but I thought I'd mention a couple of those that I really like. Some of the ones that have caught my eye on the list are the glittering snowscape shawl, absolutely gorgeous. That's a relatively new one, I think. And the cozy corner shawl, I just love the sort of chevron stripes at the bottom of that one, really pretty. And the Aurora cabin, I don't know whether that was last year's sort of winter knit along, hybrid knit along shawl or not. But there's loads in there. There's the shawlography, there's the vertices unite, so there's loads of options, and I thought that it'd be nice if I put 5 colours together, then you could pick 5 colours, or you could order 100 grams or of a couple of them, or 2 or 3 of them if you wanted to. So you've got lots of options there in the listing. I haven't even told you what they're called. So the colours in the set are, the main colour is Come On Eileen, and then I've picked words from the lyrics for the rest of the colours to go with it. So we've got this sort of dark teal, which is Johnny Ray. We've got this lovely green, which is My Thoughts I Confess. And then we've got this pinky purple, which is called A Million Hearts. And then we've got the like a purpley blue, which is Toorah Loorah, because of course we'd have to have that. So they're lyrics from the Come On Eileen song. I thought that it's really nice to have all of them inspired by the same song, Come On Eileen, by Dexy's Midnight Runners. So there we go, that's the colourways for this month, January, and every month I'll come up with a set of 5 colours that go together really well, that can be used for multiple things. So if you're interested in blankets, you could get one of the mini sets. If you wanted to make a shawl, you could get one of the big one of the 2 skein shawl sets, or you could get one of the maxi sets where you get 100 gram of each of the colours, or 50 gram of each of the colours, whatever you wanted to do. There's a whole range of sort of options that you can choose from. when I first put the listing up, I didn't put the subscriptions option up, but today I've sorted out it so you can actually subscribe for the whole year if you wanted to. You can set it up so that it takes the money out of your bank each month, and you'll get a delivery either every month or every 3 months, depending on what option you click on. So if you do the 3-month bundle, that'll be shipped every 3 months, and if you click the subscription side of things for either the 3-month bundle or the standard monthly bundle, you'll get a delivery every month or every 3 months, and then it'll come out of your bank automatically. You'll get an email saying it's going to come out, and if you've changed your mind, you can cancel it at any time. So I've just had a lot of people saying, please can I subscribe so that I don't have to remember to come and order it every month. So I've done that. You don't have to do the subscription if you don't want to. You could just do a single purchase if you fancy the colours for this particular month. So hopefully that explains it reasonably well. So you just click at the top of the page. It takes a second to come up to subscribe or just a single purchase, and then you click what base you want. There's 3 listings for the monthly bundles and the 3-month bundles. So you could have the minis or maxi sets, the single skeins, or the sock and shawl sets listings. You pick which one of those you want, go into that, select whether you want to subscribe or not. You absolutely don't have to, and if you do subscribe, it will ask you whether you still want to have the subscription before you get the money taken out every month or every 3 months, to confirm whether you still want it. If you just leave it, it will take the money out of your bank, and then I will ship that accordingly. I've put a list of shipping dates on my website for where the clubs are going to go out, but it just helps you not miss out on any of the months if you don't want to. I haven't done any mystery clubs this year because I found that I was just getting a lot more popularity with the ones where I've actually swatched, so people can see what they were buying. But if you want to see mystery clubs and you want to see them back next year, drop me a message and I will try and do so. It's just that the interest was more in the ones that people can actually see, going from last year's yarn club. The January yarn clubs will be available until the 10th of January, and they will be shipped on the 17th of January, so make sure you get those ordered. If you have already bought this month and you would like to subscribe, drop me an email and I will sort it out for you on the website. It's just took me a little while to get my head around what to do with this new app on my website, but it's sorted now. And it will just be there for the whole year. So you could, if you suddenly decide in March that you wanted to start subscribing, that's absolutely fine. It's not a thing that you have to sort of do the whole year. You can start a little way along. I'm designing the monthly colours on a monthly basis, so whatever I fancy that month, I'm putting those 5 colours together as and when. So I don't know what the coming months are going to be. I'm just taking the inspiration. I'm just enjoying designing the colours each of the months as they come along. Right, so that's it. Sorry about the long-winded explanation of the yarn clubs, but I feel like because it's the beginning of the year, I needed to chat about it a bit more. So we've got a couple of new products gone in the shop over Vlogmas that I haven't said about on the podcast, so I will quickly mention them. I've got the new botties or booties, whatever you call them, which are soles that you can then either crochet, sew or knit the actual rest of the slipper or shoe, and I just thought they were brilliant. So I haven't made mine up yet, so hopefully I'll get a chance to by the next week's podcast. I'm going to hopefully get that done, but I noticed that if you actually go to the botties website, or booties, botties sounds a bit wrong. If you go to the website, there's loads of different options of potential different things. I will try and take a screenshot and you can see the different options of what you can make with these soles. They've got like a rubber sole and then like a felted piece that you put in the middle, and it's got the thread to sew it together in the end as well. You could potentially just sew them to the bottom of a sock if you wanted to, which is another option. But there's some needle felting options, there's crochet options. I just thought that it was really nice that they put together this website with all the different options that you can do. So I think I'm gonna make a crochet version. Hopefully I'll get round to it by the next week's podcast. I've got a couple of new different pins. There's a T-pin, a kettle pin, a little handmade with love pin, and a little skein of yarn hank, which I thought were really pretty. And there's a new type of chart keeper that Knit Pro have started. So the other versions that they'd done previously, they were going out of stock on the wholesaler, so I'm discontinuing those, but I'm going to do these new chart keepers, which are a really nice sort of clay colour, the ones I've chosen. They did do a black as well, but I thought this clay colour was so lovely, I've just stocked those. They've got the normal small and large sizes, but they're really handy to put your charts on. They've got magnets to hold the chart into place, and then you can read sort of colour work and lace charts really easily. I definitely recommend those. I've got one myself. Last thing I wanted to mention, that I do have a couple of the 12-day advents left. They're all in the non-superwash yarn though, I'm afraid. So they're the Highland non-superwash yarn that I've got left over. I've got a couple of fingering weight and one DK weight one left in the shop. If you watched over Vlogmas, you'll see me opening them on the last day of the Vlogmas videos. I think it's video 36. I showed the full range of the colours if you wanted to see what the 12 days have come out like. I have sold out of the Woodland Wonders ones completely, but I happen to have just a couple of those Frostbite ones left if anyone is interested. The colours won't be replicated again. They're just the last few left that I've got, and I'm now thinking about the ideas for 2025. I'm so excited. They will be listed on the 1st of April for pre-orders, but there will be another listing again on the 1st of August. I will be revealing the theme probably in March, so that you get an idea of what the theme of 2025 Advent is going to be like. But I do love, it takes me like a whole year to decide exactly what I'm going to do with these things, so it's a lot of prep time for the Advents, but they are so much fun to make and so much fun to open. So now it's over to you, Jensen. So what have you got on, Jensen? You got a jumper on? It's the Wonder Sweater by Tin Can Knits, isn't it? Yeah. Can you keep still a minute so I can see the front of it? That's it.
Can get all dizzy.
You got all dizzy?
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Well, you look very nice. I love these pretty patterns on the front, don't you? Lovely cable patterns.
They got something on.
Oh, you can see my jumper as well. Do you like it?
Yeah. And then...
Hang on, let me turn it round so we can see us both. Come here. You like my jumper as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you're nice and cosy. This jumper was a bit big when you first had it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now you're 3. It fits you really well. Yeah. Can you say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.